Good afternoon. Thank you for being here. Today I'm going to provide you an update on the deputy-involved shooting that occurred on Monday, January 12th, near 55th and Hoover, involving the Sedgwick County Sheriff's Office. At 5:31 a.m., 9/11 began receiving calls about a shirtless man wearing blue jeans in the roadway near 55th and Hoover. Callers reported the man had a black handgun, was waving the gun, and one caller said the man pointed the gun at a vehicle. The temperature at that time was approximately 27 degrees Fahrenheit. A second call came in a few minutes later reporting the same concern. A man was walking with a gun. In total, 4 people called 911 to report the man had a handgun. Some callers said he was waving it. Deputies later contacted 3 additional witnesses who also reported seeing the man walking with a gun. One witness reported the man pointed it at a vehicle. The first deputy arrived around 5:45 a.m. near 55th and West. A motorist in a truck flagged the deputy down and also reported the man had a gun. Second deputy arrived near 55th and Hoover. Deputies saw the man walking along 55th Street and could clearly see he was armed with a handgun. He was walking eastbound when deputies first saw him, then began walking westbound as deputies spoke with him. The gun was in his hand and was pointed down. Deputies followed in a patrol vehicle and on foot. They gave repeated, loud verbal commands for the man to drop the gun. He refused and continued walking. At 5:48 a.m., deputies requested a less lethal beanbag option. At approximately 6:08 a.m., the man approached deputies near 55th and Hoover. A sheriff's supervisor immediately began giving commands to put the gun down. The supervisor gave 11 commands for the man to drop the gun. At 6:09 a.m., deputies were directed to deploy a less lethal beanbag round. A beanbag round was deployed and struck the man in the left upper leg. Deputies gave additional commands for him to drop the gun. The encounter was near a 4-way stop near businesses and homes. Deputies had limited cover, and there were safety concerns for people in the area. At approximately 6:10 a.m., the man raised the firearm, pointed it at deputies, and fired one shot. That round struck the patrol car deputies were using as cover. 4 deputies fired multiple times, striking the man. Deputies provided first aid at the scene, including chest seals and tourniquets. The man was transported to St. Francis, where he was pronounced deceased at 6:51 a.m. This remains an ongoing investigation. At the conclusion of the investigation, all facts and evidence will be presented to the Sedgwick County District Attorney's Office for formal review.
Now we'll go into the PowerPoint and information involving timeline of events. Chief, if you want to explain to them.
So the man's car was abandoned west of Hoover Road, and at some point he walks east of Hoover Road on 55th Street. When deputies first encounter him, he is still walking eastbound. Once a deputy encounters him and asks him to drop the gun, he then begins walking westbound, where another deputy encounters him, and the 2 deputies meet up and continue to follow him, one on foot, one in a vehicle, where they finally get him stopped before they reach Hoover Road, and that is critical because there is still traffic running on Hoover Road. There are still deputies responding, so the scene is not safe, and that is approximately where they deploy the beanbag round in an attempt to disarm him using less lethal weapon. So the scene is up here. This is the police car. This is Hoover Road, and we know there are businesses on 55th Street west of Hoover Road, and that is why the decision was made to try to disarm him using the less lethal round east of Hoover Road.
Now you'll hear the first 911 call that came in.
911, what is the location of your emergency?
So I'm driving to work. There's a guy on 55th and Hoover with no shirt on, walking around in the middle of the road with a 9mm in his hand.
Okay, can you repeat the location for verification, please?
55th and Hoover.
This is the first deputy encountering the gentleman.
Looks like he does have a firearm in his left hand. Sir! Yeah. Stop right there, okay? Stop right there. What? Stop right there, okay? Put the gun down. What? So we can talk to you. Okay, put the gun down. Sir? Well, put the gun down right now. Down. Put the gun down, we'll talk about it. Okay, put it down.
So at that point, the male is walking eastbound on Hoover, and then he will at some point turn after that encounter and start walking westbound, back towards Hoover.
Basically, northbound will be the.
So he wants a strong site. 10-4, you want us on the south side of the road, north side's gonna be the backdrop essentially. Yeah.
There shouldn't be anything over there.
Swing left. Swing left. So he started yelling at us because we're following him. He hasn't made any like overt movements with the firearm or anything yet.
This is his vehicle that was abandoned west of Hoover Road on 55th Street.
All right, home, I need you to put the gun down.
Yep, I recall.
Do it. Stop! Put the gun down! Put the gun down!
He's been hit with the beanbag.
Put the gun down! Put the...
He's hit with the beanbag and momentarily disables him, and then he comes back erect. He has both hands on the gun. He points it and he fires it. And that is where the bullet went, and you can literally still see the bullet in there, at least the casing. And that is the man's gun. And that is the deceased male. Okay. Take some questions if we can.
Can you just talk about just how, I heard the sheriff's officer like breathing heavily, but still in a calm, just talk about just the demeanor of them.
Yeah, I mean, I think the video is evident. They're not aggressive in their tone, no foul language. They tried to come up with some solutions, like where they offered him a ride home. There were several attempts like that to de-escalate the situation. They took time. They took distance. They kept distance, and they did their best to communicate with him. But yes, it's 27 degrees, so it's cold, and they've walked a bit, and they're concerned because they're dealing with a male with a gun, and the gun is not holstered; it's in his hand. And many citizens called 911 because they were alarmed, and they're doing everything they can just to get him to put the gun down, and assuring him that they can deal with any of his needs. It's a terribly unfortunate situation for everyone involved.
Was he a resident of Wichita area or lived nearby there?
I believe he was a resident of Wichita, and he did live nearby.
Because of his demeanor, do you suspect he was experiencing a mental health crisis or possibly under the influence?
It could be. Something was going on, and that's why I bring up the fact that it was 27 degrees. He's walking down the street carrying a gun with no shirt on. It's 27 degrees. Any of us with a coat on would be cold. But the important fact is he had a gun in his hand. People are trying to get to work. People are one person turned around and went in the other direction because he blocked their way with the gun in his hand. He did not point the gun at them, but still caused them great alarm. And the officers were making note of that over the radio. They were communicating that he had a gun, and at that point, he simply had possession of the gun and he wouldn't put it down. So they made sure that all of the other responding officers knew exactly what was occurring, very specifically. It's just unfortunate that at some point the deceased escalated the situation by pointing the gun and firing at police. But until that point, they were doing everything they could do, including the deployment of a less lethal round, hoping that they would be able to take him into custody, utilizing that.
Yeah, absolutely. And has the family been notified? Were you guys able to?
Yes.
Find his family? Okay. And are you thankful for the people that called 911 and saw this and immediately, decided?
No, I mean 100%. People were trying to be helpful. Some people were actually calling third party because a family member had encountered it and told them. People were giving us as much information as they could, which was helpful to us, or I should say helpful to our sheriff deputies that responded to the scene. So they had as much information as they could. But you saw their approach, you saw their demeanor, you saw the manner in that they attempted to communicate and talk the situation down. Perfect example of the employment of de-escalation techniques. Nobody wants anything to end this way. But some things are simply out of their control.
Did the individual have a criminal record of any kind?
He did. He had been released from custody in September of 2024, and I believe that was DV related. 25. I'm sorry. Yeah, he had been released in September of 25 on a DV related crime.